Yeah.
Possibilities come a lot more broader when we're not so much observing. Like, almost like how you get an EVP.
Well,
You know?
this is called the release, and actually we had some great teachers that taught us how to do this. Once you make the intention, once you make the observation, then you've got to release. You've got to let go and let the universe do what it's going to do. Quite often, as mortals locked in the third dimension, we force our future thread into the universe. In other words, we say, I want to travel the world, meet people, and learn exotic things, so therefore I need $1 million. And so they focus on the $1 million, and they end up disappointed, because that's not the way the universe was going to give them the opportunity to travel the world, meet people, and see exotic places. And that's called the release. When we observe something, we change it. So when we send the intention out there, we've got to let go and let the universe resonate with our intention. And then we got to listen, because when that energy comes back to us, you know, it says in Isaiah, God sends rain to the earth. Well, he doesn't expect rain back. Don't send rain back to him. He sends rain to the earth to let things grow. He gets trees and grass for his rain. Same thing with our intention. When we put it out in the universe, don't expect to get the future thread we drew. It's going to come to you in a different way, and you've got to be ready to listen.
Great.
Okay,
Great. Thank
thanks.
you very much.
What's the biggest downside that can occur up to 2012 for us?
Well, the biggest downside that can occur is that the human race, gets locked into fear. If we get locked into fear, we're afraid of dying, or we're afraid of losing our wealth, or we're afraid of mass extinction, or the seas leaving their bounds. We miss the idea, or miss the chance that we are actually in control, that we are the creators here. We are actually part of the total universe, and we can shift the mean any way we want as a race if we don't get locked into fear. If we fall into war and despair and greed, then we're not going to make it as a race. We are right at the precipice, George, and it's really important that we make the right steps in the next 4 years.
And who decides that? Us or
We
those
do.
people who try to control us?
Well, you know, I don't know that there are people that can control us. People say the government, and I just don't believe there is a government. If you've been to Washington as many times as I have, you know it's a loose coalition of bureaucracies. It's not really a government. There is no one really in control. We're in control. We decide what the weather's going to be like. We decide. We make our own place.
Well, you may be right about that, my friend. Let me give you another opportunity, too, to tell us about where you can get your book, The Arc of Millions of Years.
All right, well, there's two ways. You can, of course, go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and buy the book. But if you want an autographed copy, go to arcofmillionsofyears.com and click on whichever button applies to you, whether you're in the UK or down under or in the US. And then we'll send you the audio versions of Volume 1 and Volume 2 for free. That's a $40 value that you get if you buy Volume 3. We want you to have all three books, one way or the other.
Okay, Brooke, stay with us for final phone calls when we come right back on Coast to Coast AM. How will you fare through the next year with gasoline prices going crazy and everything else? That's going to be our special program on our next Coast to Coast show with a number of guests that will help you get through this. It's going to be a fascinating program, and I'm looking forward to it. And we'll come right back. We'll take final phone calls with our guest, Brooks Agnew, on Coast to Coast AM. Brooks, who did the cover of The Arc of Millions of Years, Volume 3? I mean, it's gorgeous.
Oh, I know. That was Roy Young. He's the most fantastic artist. We struggled making our own art for the first two volumes, and he just finished redoing the cover for Volume 1 and Volume 2. He's just a fabulous artist. I got to tell you a story about Roy. One of my friends, her name is Tanya Maidenford, is good friends with Roy, and he belongs to a church and rather strict Christian tradition, and he, of course, is a great artist, and he's got this art all over his walls, and he gets it at his apartment. His parents and friends come over to see his apartment. He's got all this art on the walls, and they're going, "Roy, what's going on here?" And he says, "Well, I've had all these visions that the Earth is hollow, and this is the kind of stuff we came up with." And they went, "Roy, you need to get your head screwed on straight. Are you wearing your foil hat and all this?" And he just kind of put them off, and finally they left. So he called up Tanya and said, "Tanya, I know you know this guy Brooks Agnew. You got to put me in touch with him." And we had a phone conversation. We hit it off right away, and the first piece of art he sent us was perfect for the book cover. It was like unbelievable. And everything he's done for us, even the cover of the workshop DVDs that I do, he's just fabulous. We can't praise Roy enough.
Who's Alexander?
That's my middle name.
Okay.
That's my middle name. I don't like.
Oh, there it is. There's the B. Okay.
Okay.
There it is. All right, we'll go to the phones. Here we go. Let's go to international line. John in Toronto. Thanks for holding, John.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I just want a quick question. I'm sure all your listeners probably already know about the Illuminati. Now, over the years, they've tried very hard to reduce the world's population by 80% through AIDS, vaccines, pharmaceuticals, contrails, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I'm really mind-boggled because there are a lot of fear-mongering going on even with the heavy conspiracy theorists. So, do you really believe that 2012 is going to happen? Considering that would wouldn't they just think, okay, you know what, in 2012 people are going to die anyways, so why go through all this effort? Let them die, in 2012. So, do you really believe it's going to happen?
I really believe that 2012 is going to happen. I believe it can be cataclysmic. It's certainly predicted to be by all the ancients, and they left us enough evidence that it could happen. But I'm also saying that the reason we are here, the reason we're part of this planet, the reason the stature of beings that are here on this planet right now is because we can group our intention together. We can group, let's call it faith, if you will, and we can move this away from it, and we can ride through this division, this splitting, this rapture, if that's what you want to call it, and we can make it a very positive and wonderful thing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be destruction and fear. And if there is such a body called the Illuminati, they're going to wake up one day, call a war, and nobody's going to show up.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, east of the Rockies, your turn. Deborah in Wisconsin.
Hi, good morning,
Hey.
George and Brooke.
Good morning.
I want to say a shout-out to my brother David in the Chicago area. I specifically wanted to ask you, Brooke, you made mention of the ancient beings that have remained here on Earth, and that there was a early Christian church teaching, which was the doctrine was expelled or not accepted. What was the name of that that you're referring to? You said around the year 300.
Oh, yes. Well, we're talking specifically about the Council of Nicaea, and there was one in 310 A.D. Now, it was led by a very charismatic leader who happened to be a government leader whose name was Constantine. He brought in the metropolitan bishops, and the reason he brought them in is because they controlled most of the wealth in government and in the communities, quite wealthy due to tithing gathered from the peoples, and he needed their allegiance. So he made several philosophical changes and expungements from the gospel because it didn't line up with what he thought would be a good government for the people. Many of the metropolitan bishops disagreed. They were inspired men and led their congregations with fervor and faith, and they were summarily beheaded, and the rest of them fell right in line. What's left is what we call the Biblio, or the Bible. It's a collection of writings and manuscripts that were carefully gathered by force and edited to fit the government's line.
Very good. Next up, west of the Rockies. Hello, Karen in California.
That's me.
That is you.
I've heard a couple of things tonight that sounded like what I've read in the Bible, when Jesus is supposed to return to the earth, there's supposed to be a very large earthquake, larger than that's ever been on the earth. You were talking about the core stopping, the earth spinning. And also when the satellites